Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Story number 1. And we are the honourless scums that are left. Written by Silver 200061. As Ra Jatar awakened from his unconsciousness, the smell of wet grass and mud registered in his senses first. Then he realized his face was laying against the damp ground, hands tied behind his back. Confusion hit Ra Jatar as he attempted to lift himself from the floor. His body ached from both prolonged laying in an uncomfortable posture and a battle wound. His mind is clouded as his period of unconsciousness. He could hear voices and activity around, but the language was oddly familiar but incomprehensible. Light stung as he opened his eyes. His retina slowly adjusted, then begins to take in the environment around him. This is a human camp. As realization sets in, Ra Jatar attempted to free himself from whatever bound his hands and tried to stand up, but was rudely interrupted by sharp pain at the back of his head, caused by some hard object smacking into it. His legs gave out, and he kneeled on the ground again, following by a growling human voice. "Stay put, you giant dog." Pain stimulated his dull mind, and memories began to fade back in bits and pieces. The battle, the charge, the hail of projectiles, the boomsticks, that damned Tin Man that bested him. He could hear angry yet familiar voices swearing in Sidician, and some calling for his name and concern from his left. He resisted the pain and forced his head to turn. It was Charge and Molly, a rider of his war host, and few others of it were here as well, and some from the other hosts too, all tied up and forced to the shameful sight by the humans, the Savanians. "What happened?" Ra Jatar asked, though his ego prevented him from fully comprehending his defeat and capture. Ra Jatar still wanted to fully understand the situation. "The low-life mudboard tricked us. They concealed in a ditch in front of their boomstick sorcerers. Our war beasts were slain between our legs, and we were forced to fight on foot. Then came the treacherous Tin Men, the Knights, by God knows what dark magic they—" With reluctance, Chinmali spit out the words with spite. "They defeated us. Nakokux is killed, and the rest of the host retreated." "The master of 100 hosts is killed. How?" Ra Jatar was shocked. The honored Korkox is a veteran warrior with years of experience in battle. Undefeated through numerous campaigns he led. "He was shot dead by a boom barrel. Then he tried to rally the hosts," George and Molly said with bitterness on his tongue. Before Ra Jatar could inquire more, a Tin Man, but not quite one, approached. He lacked the elegant footing of one, and his armor did not cover his body fully, as his shin and feet were exposed, nor was it ornated as a proper Tin Man. Ra Jatar recalled human captors called them cuirassiers. He still was able to identify this human as a high-ranking personnel in the Savanian military. He watched as this cuirassier officer approached the soldiers that were guarding them, and began to exchange conversation. Ra Jatar can't quite make out their expression, nor could he understand the human tongue. He would not lower himself to learn such a foul language of the Mudborns. After a few words, the Savanian officer came closer to the captured giants. Though on their knees, the Sidicians were still around the same height as an adult human male. The officer stared sharply at the first prisoner of the line, Chartok of the Golden Axe Warhost. Then he pulled out his wheel-lock pistol on his belt and shot through Chartok's head. Ra Jatar and the others' roars came as soon as the ring of the gunshot echoed around the camp. Some tried to raise up, attempting to pounce on the officers and tear into his throat with their teeth if necessary, but was either held down by a few human soldiers or received the same beating as Ra Jatar did. "Where is the honor of killing a defenseless opponent, Mudborn?" Ra Jatar growled. "I demand you release me and conduct a just fight." The human cuirassier officer stopped cocking his other wheel-lock pistol. His head snapped towards Raj-Tar, then surprised all present Sidician prisoners as he spoke fluent, though heavily accented Sidician. Honor! His puzzled tune began to degrade into laughter, then into rage. Honor! How dare you speak of honor? The human officer growled. He stepped closer at a quick pace and furiously reached out and seized Raj-Tar's hair and dragged him deeper inside the camp, towards the tents of the wounded and the dead. The pain forced Raj-Tar to move along, half dragged and half scrambling, his rage temporarily halted by the sudden shock and pain. Trostral camp followers were tending to the wounded when they were interrupted by the noise and action. Some started peeking out to see the scene outside. When they reached the tents, the cuirassier officer released the shouting and swearing Raj-Tar. Then a strong punch in the face shut him up again. He placed a firm grip on Raj-Tar's head and forced him to face the directions of the tents. More bystanders and camp followers wandered out to see what was going on. Most are women of various ages. Some grasped as they saw the Sidician giant, and some began to whisper amongst themselves, attempting to understand the situation. You see these women, giant? They lost loved ones, their family, their husband, their children, friends, acquaintances, due to your raids. Not soldiers, not warriors, but defenseless people. Carpenters, smiths, scholars, fishermen, and farmers. We never wanted war, but you brought this upon yourself. The Sidician warrior looked around. He could see the rage in their eyes, the hatred so deep as if knives cutting at him. You dare speak of honor when you commit atrocities upon us? Your hypocrisy disgusts me. There was no honor in this for us. You never saw us as individuals, living beings, or equals, but prey and challengers to your war game. Now you demand honor from us. Raj-Tar wanted to argue back, to throw insults and justify his actions. But at this moment, he didn't know what to say. The words choked at his throat, as if those questions were tearing his logical mind a bit by bit. Before he could come up with a response, the human officer let go of Raj-Tar's head and walked in front so that he could face the Sidician giant face to face again. Then he spoke again. You asked where is our honor? Our honorable ones are dead. They died in Ranberg, Tervensky, Gernberg, at Valentia, Stentia, Nolan's Gate, and at Scarletta Rocker. The human slowly cocked the wheel-lock pistol, and a clean click resonated through Raj-Tar's ears. And we are the honourless scum that is left. Then a trigger was pulled. End of story. Story number 2, explaining FTL to the galactic community, written by AI Whisper. The human representative sighed and rubbed his temples after being interrupted yet again, this time by Race sitting in the front row.
This just makes no sense. The only proper method of FTL is to use the gate system and the wormholes within them.
He was currently at the Galactic Conference, sharing tech with other races expanding galactic knowledge. His lecture was covering the various FTL systems that humanity had used and trying to explain them to the rest of the galactic community that they had just joined last year. Yes, I understand that's how the GC has done things for centuries, and it is why I'm trying to explain how humanity managed to reach other systems without a gate network.
But that is not possible. Not without a stable wormhole contained by a gate and powered by a local store,
another creature in the crowd said. And yet, we somehow did it, he said, starting to lose his cool since they was wasting his precious lecture time. A thought then entered his mind. He decided to give up on explaining the physics or other technical aspects to these supposed scientists, and instead pulled up the lecture he used for high school freshmen when he visited them. Okay, the speaker said, I'm going to start over from scratch with a simpler explanation for your more common types of FTL drive, the Al-Kabiri drive. Please do not interrupt and keep an open mind as my time here is limited, and you can ask me questions directly at the end. He took a breath. Imagine an airtight, cube-shaped room. In this room there is nothing but you, a rope connecting two walls, and a breathable atmosphere. He paused to let them all picture, as he's also pulled up the diagram of the room. You are the ship. The walls represent your starting and ending point. The rope is local space, and the atmosphere is the rest of the universe. Now, your goal is to cross the room along the rope, going from wall A to wall B as fast as possible. At first, all you can do is walk the length of the rope from wall to wall. This, he played a short video, is how normal space travel works. You are limited to how fast your feet move. You can compare this to engines that expel propellant, ions, etc. You can never walk faster than light as the universal rule, and you must always take 100 strides of distance upon the floor, no matter your stride length, to go from wall A to wall B. He moved on to the next video. Now, picture the same room, but this time the walls connected to the rope can also move both forward and backward. The walls also want to spread apart thanks to the air pressure in the room, but the rope keeps them in place, even if they are very tight and slightly stretching. You can pull on the rope, and now instead of your feet moving, the walls move to you. But you still must pull the rope 100 strides length to reach your goal. Yes, you're still achieving your goal of touching wall A and then wall B, but the length of rope, the air pressure, the time it took, everything else about the room does not change, so you still can't go faster than light. He let the video of a man tugging on a rope without moving his feet play, and he could see the audience agreeing along. Finally, we have our room with one extra item. Our Alkabiri drive. He changed the video to the same room, but this time a carbon box labeled Alkabiri drive was attached to the rope with the figure grabbing at it instead of the rope. Now there is an extra tool at your disposal. Not only can you walk the floor or pull the rope, but the machine removes the 100 stride rule by compressing the length of rope in the front and stretching it behind itself at the same time. This represents the compression of space that it can achieve. The video played, and the creature now only took 50 strides, while the machine compressed and expanded the rope 50 times. The goal was achieved twice as fast, but the cost of needing to power the machine to alter the rope. The overall volume of air did not change in the room since the walls remained the same distance apart, and you would still never go faster than light, yet the task was much faster. The room was silent. So he continued. The video now switched to an animated human ship. How ships do much the same thing, but on a much larger scale, and in 3 dimensions. They compress the space in front of themselves via a bubble, then expand it behind them. This allows it to travel without breaking the speed limit locally, as they themselves are not moving faster than light. It is space that is compressing and expanding in a wave that the ship rides. To the outside observer, the ship is moving faster than light, yet it is not. This also does not affect the rest of space, since the overall volume of the empty space is unchanged outside of the generated bubble. The crowd sat stunned at the explanation. Some had eyes so wide it was as if they had just given them a meaning of life, others just murmuring that he was insane. Either way, he was pleased with the lecture. And that was just the Alkabiri drive. Wait until they hear about warp drives, slipstream drives, or portable wormhole drives. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrakal, Dragzoon WRE, Holly Sister, Ambrose Cattell, and Quantum Wednesday. Thank you very much.